Hey guys, this is Jay Snow with a 5-man heroic Stormstout Brewery boss guide for you guys. Now, the heroic damage is a little undertuned, but the abilities are mostly the same. So the first boss is Ook Ook, and of course it's a monkey going crazy for bananas. And the strategy is really simple. He's gonna throw barrels all across the room, and the more health he loses, the more barrels he's gonna throw. So at about 30%, 60%, and 90%, I think, he gets one stack of going bananas, which increases his attack speed and damage and increases the amount of barrels going across the room. Now the DPS can use the barrels to their advantage by going on top of them and rolling into the boss to do extra damage. And as you can see, what happened right there is if you run into the barrel without clicking on it, you'll take massive damage. As far as the tank's role in this is to avoid the ground pound, which he just does periodically from time to time. All you have to do is sidestep, and it's a real simple mechanic to avoid. So pretty much it's just up to you not getting hit by the barrels, and the DPS not getting hit by the barrels also. And also avoiding the ground pound, but at this state of the beta, ground pound doesn't really actually kill you, but it does stun you in place, so it can get pretty annoying. Otherwise, that's really it, and his stacks of going bananas doesn't really seem to be that much threatening. So here's a great example of me being a noob and standing in the ground pound. So that's what happens if you stand in the ground pound. Otherwise, it's just 3 stacks of going bananas, but you should be able to handle it right now. The next boss is Hoptallus. I don't know how to say the name right, but it's a giant bunny boss, and you'll encounter him while pulling mobs. So it can be a little bit hectic when the boss first comes out. So when the boss comes out, he's going to summon 3 types of ads. 1 are just little plain bunnies that do nothing. 2 bunnies with hammers that you can actually pick up, and 3 bunnies with explosive barrels like suicide bombers. So you want to avoid the suicide bombing bunnies as much as possible. As far as the main boss's ability is Tailwind, which is just a whirlwind you want to avoid, and Carrot Breath, where he'll shoot a breath of nasty carrot or whatever you want to call it, and spin in a circle. Now the main mechanic to this fight is the hammers. So he's going to summon the little hammer bunnies second, and then the explosive suicide bomber bunnies third. So what you need to do is have your DPS pick up a hammer after killing the bunnies with the hammer, and you can use that hammer to actually knock the suicide bunnies up into the air so the explosive barrels won't do anything. Now with my group in this footage, they did not really know what they were doing, so they weren't picking up hammers, and what ended up was during the carrot breath, the explosive bunnies let off the explosive and stunned me for about 3 seconds while I was in the carrot breath, which is a deadly combo. If you pick up one of those nice glowing hammers seen here, you'll get a little hammer icon that you can just click rapidly to destroy all bunnies in your path. Of course, this is just a massive slaying of bunnies. Peter's gonna be on Wild's ass in like 2 seconds. So as you can see, somebody's using the hammer and the bunnies get thrown into the air, and now the suicide bunnies are coming, and that's when you want to use the hammer. So I think right here in the footage, the suicide bunnies get there, explode, and I get stuck into the carrot breath. But due to the beta having the damage limited, it doesn't really actually do too much. But of course, once everything's fixed up, you will probably die pretty quickly to that. The only other trouble you'll have is probably holding aggro as a tank, as the bunnies seem to go all over the place, and it's just a very hectic mess. But otherwise, it's just avoid the carrot breath, hammer the suicide bunnies, and avoid the tailwind, and you should be good to go. I mean, it's an extremely fun fight, even though it can be pretty annoying. Here's actually the hammer, so I used the hammer 3 times. That's the hammer animation. It's a pretty fun fight, but it's just rinse and repeat, so I skipped a lot of the footage, so we can just get right. The last boss, Yan-Zhu the Uncasked, is an elemental boss where you have to fight him in a small arena, so the camera in the video might be a little bit annoying because I keep moving around, so you have to watch for ads. And he has a couple of abilities. His first one is he will start using brew bolts at random. You can interrupt some of them. And he will also use blackout brew. We have to jump, you'll get 3 stacks. So right here, I get 3 stacks of blackout brew. Jump to get rid of it, otherwise you're going to take a ton of damage. The more you don't jump or move, the more stacks you'll get. He will also summon ads, which must be killed because he will put a shield up, which will reduce damage by 80% until the ads are killed. And my group did not do a good job of killing the ads. And his last ability is he's going to use bubbles. He's going to summon bubbles all over the field. You click on these bubbles to go up in the air, but I'll go into that in a second. Otherwise, you have to kill the ads ASAP. DPS should be on the ads, and somebody needs to be on the boss at all times, or he'll start to enrage and start using these bolts that I'll get to in a second. But right now the bubble's actually up, So when you see the bubbles, you need to click on it and go up in the air ASAP, because the ground starts becoming, I guess, filled with alcohol, and you won't be able to cast spells, and you'll take damage the more you're on the ground. So once you get into the bubble, just go up in the air and you should be good. Now the mistake I made in this video is you need to have somebody on the boss at all times, or he'll start casting these special brew bolts, I forgot exactly what it's called, that'll interrupt casting and deals more damage. So as the tank, you should be on the boss at all times, even while in the air. The only reason why I moved is because nobody was actually destroying the ads, and I got confused by all the hectic nonsense that was going on. But our hunter actually had the pet on the boss, so we avoided the bolts luckily. So let's recap that again, shall we? So when you have stacks of brew, blackout brew, make sure you move to get rid of the stacks. When ads come up, DPS has to kill the ads, and the tank should always be on the boss. And when the bubbles appear like this again, make sure you get in the bubble and go up. Lastly, he does have a second ability. I'm not sure if it was working or not working, but in the dungeon journal, it says he will summon brew waves, which you would jump over because you would get a buff to jump super high. Now, he didn't actually use the brew waves in this fight, so I'm not sure if it didn't work or it's just randomized. But if you see a big brew wave, then make sure just to jump over it. It's just a side note. I'm not sure if that's in it, but this is beta, so who knows if it's working. Otherwise, it's pretty much rinse and repeat, kill the ads, get in the bubbles, and just watch your blackout brew. Last tip is, when the bubble goes up for 20 seconds, and when the bubble's done and you fall to the ground, you'll end up having about 8 stacks of blackout brew. So you want to make sure you move ASAP once the bubble breaks, otherwise you're probably going to die. If you guys enjoyed this video, please thumbs it up, as it does help me out a lot. If you like WoW gold guides and boss guides like these, subscribe to my channel for more. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below, as I will try to answer them as soon as possible. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.